one of the songs within the section on bhakti-jananī, accepting what is favorable. Bhakti-jananī Matra Karyera Svikara. Svikara means accepting. And Matra means only. Okay, so it goes something like this. śuddha-bhakata-caran Renu bhajana-anukūla. śuddha-bhakata-caran Renu bhajana-anukūla. bhakata-sevā parama-siddhi prema-latikāra mūla. bhakata-sevā parama-siddhi prema-latikāra mūla. mādhava-tithi bhakti-jananī je-dina mādhava-tithi bhakti-jananī je-dina Krishna a-basati bodhi parama-ānanda Krishna a-basati bodhi parama-ānanda gaura-amar je-saba gaura-lo-brahmana-range gaura-amar je-saba gaura-lo-brahmana-range je-saba haribo ami ayi-bhakata-sańge se-saba haribo ami ayi-bhakata-sańge dańga-bādya shunite man avasara-sadāja dańga-bādya shunite man avasara-sadāja gaura-bihita kirtana shuni anande hridaya nache gaura-bihita kirtana shuni anande hridaya nache jugala-mūrti dakiyamo parama-ānanda hoya jugala-mūrti dakiyamo parama-ānanda hoya prasāda-sebā korite hoy sakala prapancha jaya prasāda-sebā korite hoy sakala prapancha jaya je-dina grihe bhajana-daki grihete golokaya je-dina grihe bhajana-daki grihete golokaya Carana a-īdhū dakiya ganga sukasasi-mabhaya Carana a-īdhū dakiya ganga sukasasi-mabhaya Tulasi daki jurai pran mādhava-toshani jani Tulasi daki jurai pran mādhava-toshani jani gaura-priya shaka-sevane jivana-sartakamani gaura-priya shaka-sevane jivana-sartakamani Bhaktivinoda Krishna bhajana-anukūla bhajana Bhaktivinoda Krishna bhajana-anukūla bhajana Pratidivase parama-sukhe Svikara korayeta. Pratidivase parama-sukhe Svikara korayeta. One more time, the first verse. śuddha-bhakata-caran Renu bhajana-anukūla. śuddha-bhakata-caran Renu bhajana-anukūla. bhakata-sevā parama-siddhi prema-latikāra mūla. bhakata-sevā parama-siddhi prema-latikāra mūla. And the translation. The dust of the lotus feet of pure devotees, enthusiastic devotional service, and service to the pure devotees of the highest order are the roots of the creeper of devotion. So we're talking about roots, the mūla, prema-latikāra mūla, the roots of the latikara, the creeper of prema bhakti. What are they? The dust of the lotus feet of pure devotees, śuddha-bhakata, Charana Renu, then enthusiastic devotional service, and service to the pure devotee. These are the roots. Then the holy days like Ekadashi and Janmashtami are the mother of devotion for those devotees who respect them. Let the holy places of Krishna's pastimes be my places of worship and bless me. Last week we talked about how wherever the Lord is, that is the holy dham. And that means that wherever you have a deity of the Lord, and this deity can even be simply a two-dimensional deity, a picture, a photograph, that becomes the dham of the Lord. So Bhaktivinoda Thakura is saying, let the holy places of Krishna's pastimes be my places of worship and bless me. So that place, we can remember the Lord's pastimes wherever we are. And of course, we can observe Ekadashi and Janmashtami. Hopefully, we don't have to be in isolation at the time of Janmashtami. But yeah, let's hope for the best. Third, may I always visit all the holy places associated with the Leela of Lord Chaitanya and his followers. Well, again, we may be feeling some frustration. We can't move around very much at all, but we can move around in our minds and in our hearts. Bhaktivinoda in another song refers to the song, to the heart, the sky of the heart. Hrit Gagana, the sky of the heart. So there's actually lots of space to move. When I hear the sound of the mridanga in my heart, I always desire to join in kirtan. And when I hear the bona fide songs describing Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, my heart dances in ecstasy. So again, the heart is the place of hearing. In the verse of third canto, Kapila Dev says, Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti hrit karna rasayana kata. So hrit karna rasayana can mean the heart and the ears hearing the reservoir of rasa, but it can also mean the ears of the heart. in the sense that this is where the hearing eventually leads to entering into the heart.
Yeah.
Jai. Gurudev.
Whenever, Hare Krishna, whenever I see the transcendental Shri Vigrahas of Radha Krishna, I am in bliss. For by taking their lordship's prasad, we can conquer over the material elements. So anyone want to conquer over material elements? Here is the formula. Seeing the Lord's form, and accepting the Lord's prasadam. One day, while performing devotional practices, I saw my house transformed into Goloka Vrindavan. When I take the charanamrita of the deity, I see the holy Ganga waters that come from the feet of Lord Vishnu, and my bliss knows no bounds. I thought this verse especially is relevant for us. If we're stuck at home, then if we're performing devotional practices at home, we can remember Bhaktivinoda Thakur doing the same. And when he is doing this, what is he seeing? He's seeing his home transformed into Goloka Vrindavan. We may or may not see like that, but the possibility is there, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur is telling us. And then charanamrita, taking the charanamrita from the deity, Bhaktivinoda Thakur sees the holy Ganga waters that come from the feet of Lord Vishnu. And what is the result of that? He says, my bliss knows no bounds. Carana a-sīdhu dakya Ganga shukas sa sima pai. I think that should be na sima pai. Sima means boundary. Yeah, we have to check, but I'm pretty sure that should be na sima. There is no boundary, no limit. Okay, number 7. By seeing the tulasi tree, my heart feels joy, and Lord Madhava, Krishna, is also satisfied. When I eat the prasad favored by Lord Chaitanya, it is a new life's experience. And then the explanation is given here. Lord Chaitanya was very fond of a green vegetable preparation called shak. And there's another song in this book that tells of that amazing effects, of the amazing effects of this type of prasad. Yes, I must confess that I'm very fortunate here getting fresh shak straight from the field, from the farm here. There is green shak, and there's also very nice red shak that's just coming up now. Yeah. Then seeing the tulsi tree. Yes, also here we have many tulsi plants. One side of the temple here, there's a whole row of tulsi. Finally, Bhaktivinoda concludes by saying, whosoever attains the stage of enthusiasm for these devotional practices will be supremely blissful wherever he may be. Let's see if that's in the Bengali. Bhaktivinoda Krishna bhajana-anukūla jaha prati divase parama-siddhi Svikara koraye taha. Jaha and taha. We have to ask Sugopi Tungavidya. She is from Bengal. This means where and there. Am I correct?
Jaha means, yeah, wherever, where. Yes, that's right, what you
Wherever
said.
there.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay. So there we are. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura ki jai. Now, we have, welcome everyone. Some of you have joined us in the last few minutes, but I'll say welcome to everyone. And I suppose we're all pretty much in the same place we were last week. I'm still at Talasari, is the name of the village nearby, otherwise known as Nilachal Vedic village, north of Mumbai. So this week, today, I have a topic to talk about, but I wanted to invite you, if you want to do what I call show and tell. I always remember when I was a small child, they had this in school, show and tell. And as I understand, we have 5 devotees or groups of devotees with something you want to share. And I think the first of them is you, Divyambara, in New York.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Thank you. It's so nice to be with all of you today. It's a real treat. I don't really have much to show. It's basically a piece of paper. This is my book proposal. So this is the proposal for my new cookbook.
Uh-huh.
I just finished like a week or two ago. I sent it to my literary agent.
Mm-hmm.
And the working title is Healing Through Deliciousness, the Ayurvedic Guide to Cooking by Ingredient. It's my cookbook, and we already received 1 offer from the publisher of my first book, Rizzoli.
Oh, very good.
So we're in the bargaining stage now. And we may explore the possibility of other publishers, but the interest in healthy sattvic cooking is very high nowadays. So we hope that there will be more interest.
Oh, yeah. Can you tell us something about the sales of your first book, how it's gone?
Well, my first book, it's called What to Eat for How You Feel, the New Ayurvedic Kitchen. It had 6 editions so far. I think they printed
6?
in, yeah,
6 editions?
Yeah.
Wow.
By your mercy. The 6th edition just arrived, and it also has the first edition in German that just came out.
Oh, wow.
It's distributed in German in all German-speaking countries. I sent 2 copies to Singhachalam. I don't know if Nandimukhi, I don't know if you got it. I sent you some. And so far it's about 13,500 copies.
Wow.
The publisher doesn't really give me the numbers. So up until the end of 2019, it was 13,500.
Okay. Well, that's a very respectable number.
Well, it's an expensive book. The retail price is $40. So it's not, it doesn't sell as much, but I'm receiving great feedback. So I'm grateful.
Yes. And you just wrote to me that you've done an online cooking course with 700 plus people attending.
Yeah, that was really unexpected. It's for the Hindu American Foundation. It's a worldwide organization, but mostly based in the US. And they invited me to offer, they have like online webinars for their community. this tomorrow they're having Deepak Chopra speak. It's a respectable organization. So yeah, I didn't expect such huge turnout, and they were so happy that they invited me to do this again. So I will be teaching another class on May 7th.
Very good, very good. Okay. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then I think next we have Singachalam Vasis. Yes, that's you. You'll have to turn on your microphone.
Guru Maharaj, I think Anandamayi Mataji is the second one, but okay, we can go.
Okay. All right, Anandamayi. Let's see where she is. I don't see her. Oh, maybe. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone. My little presentation was inspired by the song of Bhaktivinoda Thakura, which we sang today. And I'm also writing a book. This is inspired by the book of Bhaktivinoda Thakura, Shri Krishna Samhita. And he's mentioning 7 aspects of devotional service, of cultivation of devotional service, like cultivation of sense objects, what we were singing today, all these nice things. Then social cultivation, it is varnashrama, and then cultivation of one's relationship with devotees and with the Lord, cultivation of speech, bodily cultivation, mental cultivation, and spiritual cultivation. So he is dividing this cultivation for 7 steps. And when I joined ISKCON, I had one vision where I saw myself from inside, like in a vessel. And I saw myself very thin, very small, and just from above. And I realized later that the soul is growing like we are growing, our body is growing. So the consciousness is growing and our body is growing, spiritual bodies. My inspiration for the book was to present the self-realization steps through this process, through these 7 aspects. And yeah, I want to present this in 2 parts because Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that for this cultivation there is the need of qualification adhikari. So I'm presenting it like from the global idea of rising consciousness up to like gross and subtle body, up to Brahmaloka development. And then second part of my book will be just above the advanced part. So I'm just working on it. This is a very big topic and my research is going on. So that's my little presentation.
Thank you.
So,
are you writing in English or in Polish?
I'm trying in English, but you suggested to have some native speaker to help me with this. So I hope it will work in due course of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
good.
My little inspiration for today.
Thank you. Srila Prabhupada wanted all the devotees to write.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, Abhimanyu? We have one audience in my room here, Abhimanyu from Pune.
Okay.
Young devotee. Good. Okay.
So thank you.
Who is next? Thank you. Who is next?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Oh, it's yeah. Okay.
And Hari for everyone else. Hare Krishna from Himachalam.
Singachalam Yap. I can see where you are. You're outside. The barn is behind you.
Yeah.
And you're having a nice, and it's a nice sunny day there.
Yeah. It's a little bit windy, but it's,
Wind is
yeah.
there.
Okay.
So I would like to share preaching work, which have already started, but because of this Corona, we waiting to get over. So this preaching work, Guru Maharaj, you were mentioning before 10 years that me and Narahari, we should preach to Indians and go and visit them in their homes. And so we are contacting many Indian families here around, and they're really eager to have us, and we would make different programs. And we have also like a sponsor service plan feedback. We can show what they can all take part in a community. So Ramananda later can also send it on our
WhatsApp group.
WhatsApp group, so everybody can read it, what we are offering here. For example, we have many other yagras taking place here, and also like in family, they buy a new car, and they come here with a new car, and Ramananda then make performing puja, car puja, and so we are very much looking visit and start with this program with your
That's a very Hindu thing. blessing the new car.
Hey, please
Okay.
puja, made a puja, and it becomes popular. There are more and more coming to new cars.
Yeah.
Open the window.
Except now, nobody can use their cars because everyone has to stay home.
No, now we're making pujas from afar. We're making pujas from the distance. Shalakam Shila puja with Nisinga Kavacha Homa. Very nice.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. In this way, you are adapting and adapting. Nice. So I guess the guest, Meenakshi Swamini, I guess the guest house is kind of empty these days, huh?
Yeah, but we have now a lot of the world is doing many things, so we are always busy on the platform. So I would like to maybe also for the community of our program what we present. Himachalam is slowly but steadily developing in a point of we are renovating a lot and trying to make Himachalam again in life, in the old life.
Okay. Good. The audio is not so good from there, but how are the cows doing?
Yeah, the cows are happily again outside on the field, start to eat fresh grass. So, and we are very nice to have them here. So it's I think it's all together kind of growing in a good direction, must say. Also, our garden is kind of blossoming with the new gardeners. So it's kind of nice. Next time when you come, you will see that our temple corridor, the old temple corridor, is not there anymore. So they're very old. Slowly
corridor is no longer there. Now that's hard to imagine what that means, but okay. Now I'm very curious. So I'll have to come.
Similar process. Try to finish next time.
Huh?
But we are trying to develop the style that you developed in a temple room. We'll try to extend now on the whole temple. So this is kind of idea, yeah, that we get this nicely opulent classic style in the whole temple building.
Oh, okay.
Put it away.
Okay. Thank you.
So, yeah. Have a good day.
I was about maybe that we mentioned that we have the śuddha-bhakata-caran festival on 6th of May. Probably many will know already. We will not have it in the way as we used to have it. What is very sad. I mean, there's a small possibility that it's still allowed till maybe 50 guests on the beginning of May, but we're not sure about this. So to be on the safe side, we kind of said, okay, no śuddha-bhakata-caran as it was, but we will have a festival here, and we will stream it on YouTube on our channel. I will update this in the WhatsApp group when this is happening, that everybody can participate. Basically, it starts in the evening. What is the plan right now? We will have, for sure, there will be Krishna Swami here to present thing a little bit, because he's in Germany and he's very eager to come. Yeah. And Krishna Swami, we don't know yet. He's still in South Africa. He's waiting, he can fly out. Yeah. And we have Amara Dasam Prabhu and also Andayami Prabhu. They will conduct all the pujas. Yeah. And we will, every day we will have a fire sacrifice, because they said that's very auspicious for this time. There will be no pavitram ceremony, but we will have a fire sacrifice on the 5th in the evening, and then we will have around 11 o'clock there will be the Maha Abhishek on YouTube live. Everybody can participate, and also a Homa. And on the next day there will be also and the evening darshan, there will be a surprise at the evening darshan. So
very, very special.
Meenakshi has a finger since many months.
We have
something
we never had before.
We had 2 years ago, we had this armor of the Lord, the silver armor. Last year. And this year we have something else very special. So please tune, and I mean all our God brothers and God sisters, of course, as well, if you like. And the only thing what we can offer this time is the separation of Nrsimhadev.
This will be the theme of Raha Bhakti to Nrsimhadev.
Yeah. Yeah.
And short, Mataji, thank you for sending me the book, but I have not received it yet. So I'm looking forward to see it. Please, maybe there is a number or something I can look where about is coming through post.
Yeah, maybe you two can communicate on email or whatever. Okay. Thank you so much. Achalam Dham ki jai. Hari Bol.
Jai Gurudev ki jai.
Then let's see, who's next? Divya Singha, I think. Is that possible? There's Veer Gopal and there's Divya Singha. I don't know if Veer Gopal is here. We got some yes from Dharma Gupta. So, okay, so who's next?
Hare Krishna, can you hear me? Hare Krishna.
Yes, I can hear, we can hear, yes.
Dandavat pranams to koti times to everyone and to you, Guru Maharaj. I am so happy again see so many nice and beautiful devotees. And I must, for beginning, start that our relationship was not visible outside in the some 5 years like that, but now we start visible relationship each others. I'm so happy that I am here with us, dear devotees. Thank you so much. Thank you. Can I say something, Guru Maharaj?
Please.
First of all, I start from Dandavat Pranams to my Diksha Guru, Krishna Kshetra Maharaj, who gives me this powerful Maha Mantra. This Maha Mantra has such a potential that can very easily bring, wake up our feelings inside our Atma, because as you know, from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabunoi Shravanodi Shuddho Chitte Koroye Udoy. Everyone's heart is Krishna Prem. And by hearing, like today, Guru Maharaj told us beautiful Hari Katha, that when we get this powerful energy, Shabda, this powerful energy, Mahamantra potential, and is our Atma wake up very, very quickly, very fast. And this song, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is a one statement, Anukula. Anukula is a very auspicious, powerful substance. And this substance is śuddha-bhakata-caran, Ren. śuddha-bhakata-caran. That means that this special gifts is on the feet of our Guru Maharaj. Like also Narottam Das Thakur said, Charana Renu, Shiguru Charana Padma, Keval Bhakati Sadma. The same things is also statement in this song from Prema Bhakti Chandrik, who recommends our acharyas recommend, if you want to get very quickly Krishna Prem, go and read this Prema Bhakti Chandrik. And today you suggest that we should speak something about politics, connect with Krishna conscious. Yes, Guru Maharaj? Good.
That may be a little bit misunderstanding.
Sorry.
This is something which I am going to speak on. I was not requesting other devotees to speak on.
Okay.
I thought, let me say something, and then, there could be further discussion, I suppose. But if you have something you feel you should say, that's okay.
No, Guru Maharaj, I don't want to say before you. After, when you give power, I can little bit try say something. What I say is my, in heart, what realize, because this Krishna conscious is very scientific movement. In our life, we can experience in heart that is working. If you proper take all this, what we get from our Gurudev, our Acharyas, our Srila Prabhupada, our Gaura, and also from beginning Krishna is a source of knowledge, is Bhagavan. And when we take in the procedure, that will be working very easily, very fast, especially in this age, Kali Yuga, because this age is very special. Only one day of Brahma, we can get this Vraj Prem Bhakti very fast and very quick. In this statement in Bhagavatam Puran is a very nice statement that Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishna Sango Panga Astra Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtanai Prayai Yajanti Hi Sumedhasa. This mantra is a very powerful mantra who explain that even the cover incarnation is discovered in this Bhagavad Puran. And this mantra have a different, of course, is big katha, is not enough time, but only this astra. This word astra is like very powerful weapon. Usually weapon only demish all things, but this astra not only make like cut, but also develop. Like when Anukula came to our heart, pratikul disappeared. Pratikul means anartha, very fast. And this astra is very powerful. When we get this astra from the mouth of our spiritual master, from our sadhu, or for Vaishnavas, is inspiration that very fast we can, by this astra, make a place for in our heart to bhakti. That's why I want to only say that this process working. I really I really feel this. I am not joking now. I am not cheater. I am really say that our family is very healthy, very nice. I have very nice family. In second room we have birthday. I am in, you know, in my daughter room, closet, because it's loudly. My younger Nimai son have a birthday today. Nimai.
Party.
If you have some Ashirvad, I ask you give him the Ashirvad for Krishna Prem very fast. Only this Ashirvad I feel is very, very powerful and is good for soul, for Atma. And I will be very appreciate about this Ashirvad. Thank you so much. Sorry that I speak maybe too long time. Dandavat pranam for all.
All best wishes for your son on his birthday.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. Hare
Krishna. Okay, now I have to get back to, here we go. Is Veer Gopal here?
Yes, Maharaj, my pranams. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
You're somewhere in Odisha.
Yes, Maharaj, yes. Yes, in Patamunda. It's about 150 kilometers away from Bhubaneswar, Maharaj.
Ah, okay. Very nice. Sun is shining.
Yes, it's glorious.
So, did you want to share something with us?
Maharaj, I also completely misunderstood the subject matter, and I shared with you something I'd written on politics and Krishna consciousness. But considering that I completely misunderstood, I suppose I better keep mum.
Well, no, I saw you wrote something. I saw you put your heart into it. So yeah, that's nice. I appreciate it. Maybe we can come to that later. But maybe we go ahead now, and I share a few thoughts from what I've been reflecting on in recent years even. Let's see now. Okay, I press share screen, and then PowerPoint share. There it is. Okay, then we make it full screen. Okay, like that. Technology, when it works. Can everyone see this? I suppose if anyone doesn't see it, you can say something. So Krishna consciousness in politics, these are a few reflections, and the purpose of these reflections is to assist us in clear thinking. We may say one of the problems with political life is the lack of clear thinking. So I want to try to give some general thoughts, which are sort of in my typical analytical mode, if you like. Now, hold on, let's see, how do I move? Okay. Yeah, so first a few questions that we might ask ourselves or expect others to ask. And the first would be simply, what is politics? And another general question, why do politics seem to pervade so much of our lives? There's some sort of presence, it seems, of political, and we may wonder why that is, even as devotees. Then, related to that question, is there such a thing as Krishna conscious political activity, or is it all Maya? And of course, there are two types of Maya. There's Mahamaya and Yoga Maya, so that might give away some of the way of understanding an answer to that. Then on a more practical side, let's see if I can move this somewhere. Okay. How might devotees, how might we relate with local, national, and international arenas, political arenas? In other words, we live in this world. Prabhupada said we are in the world, but we are not of the world. But to what extent or how might we meaningfully relate? And related to this, sometimes devotees ask this question: should devotees vote in local or national elections? And some devotees have strong feelings one way or the other. Yes, we should vote, we should participate. Others will say, no, it's a waste of time. We have nothing to do with this so-called democracy. And then certainly as devotees, we may be asking ourselves, how or what can we do to transcend the politics that come up among devotees? And some devotees seem to thrive on political sort of tensions and disagreements and so on. Others may be just the opposite. We just don't want to have anything to do with it. So all these questions may be there. So I thought, let's start with some, these are not really definitions, but they are, you could say, directions of types of definitions. I suppose if we look on Wikipedia, we could find definitions of politics, but this is from my own head, a neutral definition and a loaded or a charged definition. So a more neutral definition would be that politics has something to do with the organization of power. And that's obviously very vague and very broad. But it brings in an interesting point that some scholars of religion like to make, and you've heard me quote them, some of you have heard me, they like to say that religion and politics are two sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. It's kind of an English or American expression. Religion and politics are two sides of the same coin. The idea being that you cannot separate them. If you have religion, you will have politics. If you have politics, you will have religion. They will not be separated. Now, of course, we could talk about, is Krishna consciousness religion? Prabhupada many times said it's not religion, it's science. Okay, we can talk about that at some point, but just for now, I wanted to make that point to that relationship. And if we take this imagery of the coin, a coin is an object which has value, or it represents value. So we may want to say that religion and politics are two sides of the whole notion of value, where human beings consider values in a sense of ethical values, and other types of value. There is, we want to say, as devotees, ultimate value, or absolute value, and then relative value, all the values of this world. And we may want to say that the relative values of this world are the area of, or the concern of, politics, whereas the absolute value of Krishna consciousness is about Krishna. It's about Krishna consciousness. And of course we can say, yes, and there's politics in the spiritual world, there's the left-wing gopis and the right-wing gopis and so on. Yes, that's all, very nice. But in general, for now, let's just think about politics as organization of power. And then we have the more loaded definition. This is the one when we say to another devotee, oh, he is just making politics. You know that expression, oh, they're just making politics, or they're making politics. So it may be something controversial amongst the devotees. I think here the general thrust of the idea here is there's some sense that someone is making intrigue, someone is speaking in such ways as to intentionally subvert the status quo of power. I'm not saying that's good or bad, I'm just saying that is the general sense of a more loaded definition of politics. And okay, we could say more about that, but these are very, very broad areas of definition, which there's a distinction, I think, between the two. One is more neutral and one is more loaded, but they both have their place, I would say, in discussion about politics and Krishna consciousness. I wanted to make a more interesting slideshow, but my time was short, so I just made it the essentials. So then, thinking about taking a step away from the sort of areas of definition, we may then want to look at politics in Shastra. And especially, we'd probably want to go first to the two epics. One is the Ramayana, and the other is the Mahabharata. These are known as epic literature. They're extended poems which are dealing with heroic topics. And one could say so much about each of these. I thought we'll concentrate very briefly on the Mahabharata. And we could say that the Mahabharata is saturated with politics because there is, from early on in the Mahabharata story, this opposition. There are essentially two parties. There are the Pandavas and there are the Kauravas. They are cousins, and there is competition between the two parties, a competition which becomes more and more intense over the years and the decades. And eventually, the tension explodes into war. And what I want to say here is that this is the devolution of politics when communication fails. When all communication fails, we know how Lord Krishna attempted to, connection is unstable, what to do. I hope it's coming through somewhat. No, it's probably good. It's the best we can do. Yeah, when the Krishna attempted to engage in diplomacy in order to come to some agreement between the Kauravas and Pandavas, but the Kauravas would not listen, and so the only choice left when Duryodhana said, "We will not even give the Pandavas enough land to stick a pin into the earth." Even they just asked for 5 villages. Just give us 5 villages. No, we will not give you 5 villages. So there was nothing left to do but resolve the conflict through war, through what I'm calling open-ended violence. As opposed to sort of constrained or limited violence, which is practiced by the state, by a government. Governments are, in a sense, authorized one way or another to perform violence in order to control people. That's one way of understanding what a state is about. So, yeah, the story of the Mahabharata is really a story of dynastic confusion. How is the dynasty going to continue? All the efforts to have a continuous line of kings were failing. And in each case, every claim to holding the position was mixed with some reason for not being recognized as authorized. And all of this is within a larger time context. And this is, of course, the cyclical process we understand divided into the 4 yugas. And the end of the Dvapara Yuga is the time in which the whole story of the Mahabharata is taking place. And what this means is that Dharma, in particular Kshatriya Dharma, but more broadly, Dharma is becoming more and more obscured It's becoming glani, dharmasya glani. It becomes, obscured. And of course, that is Krishna's explanation for why he appears. Yada yada dharmasya glanir bhavati bharat abhyutanatime atmanam srijami aham. I manifest myself at that time. The Bhagavad-gita is sometimes compared to a jewel which is set within a gold setting. Similarly, the Bhagavad-gita is set within the Mahabharata, and it's the Bhagavad-gita in which begins with the word dharma. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsava mamaka pandavaschaiva kim akurvata sanjaya. And that very first verse is also fraught or filled with politics, because Dhritarashtra is asking about mamaka, mine, his soldiers, and the Pandavas. What are they doing? What are they saying? What's happening on that field? And there is this profound irony that the entire first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is very much about seeing. And the question in the beginning of that chapter is being asked by someone who is blind. And so in that chapter we have a lot of expression. Duryodhana is speaking to Bhishma, saying, look at my party, just see. And later Arjuna is saying, I do not see what benefit there is to fighting in this war, and so on. Anyway, that's another topic. The Bhagavad Gita, of course, did I continue with Bhagavad Gita? The next, yes. So in Bhagavad Gita, in the very middle of Bhagavad Gita, we have this famous verse in chapter 9. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitramidam Uttamam Pratyakshavamang Dharmyam Susukam Kartam Avyayam, which is referring to Rajavidya, which Prabhupada translates as the king of knowledge, the king of secrets. And what I want to suggest is, yes, this is absolutely correct. And there is another way to translate the samasa Rajavidya. By a grammatical rule, it can be also translated knowledge for kings, or knowledge for the king. It could be also singular, but most natural would be to translate it in a plural. Knowledge for kings. And the word vidya, there are two words, especially we find in Bhagavad Gita, translated as knowledge. There's vidya, and there's jnana or jnana. Vidya often has a sense of technique or technology. What sort of techniques, and indeed what we can say, political vidya, what are the political techniques for a king? And then Rajaguyam, the king of secrets, it's also a secret for kings, which suggests that the Bhagavad Gita, in one sense, it's for everyone, but it's maybe in some sense it's especially for the Kshatriyas. And in that sense, at least, that Krishna is urging Arjuna, of course, he's urging him to fight, but more broadly, he is urging him to engage in the world, to be engaged in the world of politics. Arjuna wants to quit, he wants to leave, he wants to give up politics. Oh, Hare Krishna. And Krishna is saying, no, you can't do that. Now, a major theme of Bhagavad-gita, on the other hand, whereas politics is very much about taking sides, being on one side and opposing another side, a major theme of Bhagavad-gita is eco-vision, or seeing all beings as the same. And this is mentioned perhaps most famously in this verse in chapter 5, I think it's verse 18. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavi hastini shuni chaiva svapakecha pandita samadarshana. Seeing, the Pandit sees with equal vision all kinds of beings, whether highly qualified Brahmins or untouchable dog eaters or any kind of animal. This is samadarshan. So this is this equal vision, we could say, anticipates a more elaborate presentation, we'll come to that, in the Bhagavatam. But before we go there, let's look briefly at a very important teaching of Bhagavad-gita, and that is Triguna Vidya, knowledge of the three gunas, the system of Sankhya, understanding the dynamics of activity of all different features of this world in three modes. And I think relevant for us, I mean, we could elaborate so much on the three gunas in relation to politics, but just for now, to say that in the 18th chapter, we have these three aspects, three types of knowledge. And I find this helpful to orient ourselves. So we have knowledge in the mode of goodness, knowledge in the mode of passion, and knowledge in the mode of darkness. So Krishna says in chapter 18, verse 20, you can read, that knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness. So this is expressed as a form of seeing undivided spiritual nature despite the variety. And that, of course, echoes Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, the verse from chapter 5. Then we have mode of passion, Rajaguna, that knowledge by which one sees that in every different body there is a different type of living entity. You should understand to be in the mode of passion. Okay, so that would suggest that politics, at least in this world, has some sort of foundation within the area of Rajaguna. And of course, Rajaguna is the whole area of seeking, seeking immediate results. Oops, now we're getting an echo. Somebody's microphone is on. Okay. And then we have motive, ignorance, knowledge and ignorance. And that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all in all without knowledge of the truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness. Now, this seems to be a whole different sort of category of knowledge. It's still knowledge, notice, but it's knowledge within the mode of ignorance, which is also called the mode of, mode of darkness, which is also called the mode of ignorance. So what does that mean, knowledge within ignorance? Mode of knowledge of those who consider money only to be God. God equals money, and therefore they see only one purpose in their life, which is to accumulate wealth. You may think of people, workers, for example, who, I don't know, I was thinking of coal miners. Coal miner, maybe his whole life he's working in a coal mine and he can't think of any other type of work. He may wish he had a different kind of work, but he is somehow in that state of very, very limited knowledge. Okay, another approach we take, now jumping out of Bhagavad Gita, and I'm shifting to the Upanishads, and specifically the Taittiriya Upanishad, where we have the famous description of Panchakosha, by which we experience the world and eventually experience beyond the world. So we have the Annamaya Kosha, which is the sheath. A sheath means a layer. And this consists essentially of food awareness. We see this especially with very small children, babies. They are essentially conscious of food and some sort of life consciousness emerges from that, pranamaya kosha, the awareness of life symptoms. A wider awareness comes as one is aware of one's mental activity, and that is jnanamaya kosha. There are different explanations of these koshas, but this is just in brief. And then vijnanamaya kosha, at least in one place, Srila Prabhupada locates this as the sheath of Brahman awareness of the impersonal absolute. And finally, anandamaya kosha, which we can take as the sheath, which is consisting of Parabrahman awareness, which means awareness of Bhagavan, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, political thought, political activity is, if we look in the public sphere, if we look in newspapers and see how politicians are speaking, what are they speaking about, what is it that they are appealing to, we can say it's very much about The first three of these, and certainly we don't hear anything about vijnana. Largely, the political sphere and the mundane world has to do a lot with the concern for security. And of course, that has become the super major theme of the day and of the week and the month and who knows how long with our coronavirus consciousness, the question of security. So it's just a good idea to be aware. One can read what someone is arguing in the political sphere. One can map what it is they're saying in terms of, I just lost my thing there. Yeah, one can locate what they're saying in terms of these koshas, and then that can help us to see what is being claimed or what is being argued in a broader perspective. Okay. Yeah, and then we may also want to think about politics with respect to the varnas and the ashramas. And we probably have noticed from reading, especially the first canto of Śrīmad-Bhagavatam with Srila Prabhupada's purports, especially in later chapters, Prabhupada is very much talking about politics. Is that true, Abhimanyu? He's especially talking, of course, about qualifications for leaders. And he's speaking about it in terms of kingship, especially because he's speaking about Maharaj Parikshit and the lack of qualification of the false king embodied in the personality of Kali. Okay. So if we think in terms of politics from my sort of neutral definition as organization of power, then we might think about varnas and ashramas as a system of distribution of power. And here, again, it's a big topic, and I just want to touch on one or two aspects. And that is the difference between the power of the Brahmins and the power of the Kshatriyas. The power of the Brahmins, which is directed, or should be directed, toward nivritti dharma, ideals. Nivritti, this word means disengagement, as opposed to pravritti, which means engagement. So the power of Brahmins is essentially directed toward nonviolence. And the power of the Kshatriyas, which is pursuing pravritti dharma ideals, engagement in this world, are essentially involved in violence. And of course, violence, force, we could use just maybe a softer word, force. Kshatriyas are there to make things happen by force. They wield shastra with a short A in the word shastra, whereas Brahmins wield shastra with a long A. And as it's said, if one does not listen to or take seriously or follow Shastra, then one will be controlled by Shastra, by weapons. One will be forced. So either one chooses the nonviolent force of the Brahman's Shastra, or one is put under the force of the power of weapons of the Kshatriyas. Now, one thing I found helpful to understand so many things related with politics is an observation made by one Dutch scholar, whose name is slipping my mind, Jan Heesterman, yes. I don't think he's still alive, but he wrote extensively on Vedic rituals. He did very deep study of Vedic rituals. And he wrote an article on the inner conflict of tradition. And from my understanding of what he was saying, essentially we have within the Vedic tradition, but also continuing in later, what eventually becomes called Hindu tradition, we have this really basic core division between the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas. Now, ideally, they are cooperating. They complement each other. And we read a lot in the Bhagavatam about such complements, but we also in the Bhagavatam between the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas. But the general point here is that there is a tension, and the tension is very much also elaborated in the Mahabharata between pravritti marga and nivritti marga. There's a whole debate among the Pandavas when they are banished. They're sitting in the forest, and Draupadi becomes impatient. She says, you know, Yudhishthira, you're just sitting here. We should be getting up and fighting. And Yudhishthira says, no, I made a promise. I'm gonna wait it out 13 years. And Bhima becomes impatient, and they have a whole debate on this subject, and to engage or not engage in the world. And it's interesting that Yudhishthira, the king, is arguing for essentially disengagement. So a lot of questions that come up and become matters of controversy, we might find that if we dig down, we will see that at the core of the controversy, there is something which you cannot remove from the tradition. It's just built in. It's there, and it just becomes expressed in different ways, and it can be a creative tension. And we could say this is what Krishna is giving us in Bhagavad Gita. Just one more point on ashrama. It's perhaps obvious that it's naturally the area of the grihastas because they are engaged with production and reproduction, which means they are the group who are most engaged in the world. This is pravritti marga, pravritti dharma, and this means there will be questions that they are confronted with having to do with power, with the use, with the engagement of power, with the holding of power, the gaining of power, the loss of power, and so on. The other ashramas, the brahmacharis, the vanaprasthas, the sannyasis, also have their powers. And we could say as a kind of parallel, if we connect grihastha as engaged with pravritti marga, sannyasa as engaged mainly with nivritti marga or dharma, then we may see also two different kinds of power which are somewhat, they can come into conflict. They should be complementing each other. The sannyasi inspiring the grihastha supporting the sannyasi, and so on like that. Okay. Then I think I'm getting near the end. I want to bring in something which I've shared with a few of you, and perhaps in one or another discussion or lecture, something which I have found very helpful and which I've found helpful for connecting our tradition with modern thought. As you may know, I'm very interested in the whole subject of what some devotees call bridge preaching. And for me, any good preaching will be making good bridges. And so a question can come that how do we relate politics or political thought from our tradition to modern thought with respect to politics in a very general way, which could be beneficial for people today. And so I've come across some research that was done by one professor in New York, Professor Jonathan Haidt. He is a social psychologist. You can find his talks on YouTube on various subjects. More recently, he's become very concerned about how politics on university campuses has become extremely close-minded. He's very concerned about how it's gone out of balance. But he has done he and his colleagues have done extensive empirical research on the subject of what he calls moral foundations of political life. And he and his colleagues came up with 6 areas of moral foundations, which he found, again, by empirical research, which means interviewing people, having people fill out forms and other types of measurement, that people, all kinds of people, whatever their political identification may be, they will put great value in one or more of these 6 moral foundations, which I've listed here. You can see care, fairness, liberty, loyalty, authority, and sanctity. And what he found in his research, as far as I remember, not only in America, but also elsewhere in the world, is that there tends to be a general divide between liberal and conservative political orientation in the middle between these two sets of three. What I mean is, the more liberally oriented persons, in general, will be more concerned about establishing government activities which ensure the care of people, of activities and policies that ensure fairness for all people, so suggesting equality, that keep or preserve the value of liberty. And those who identify with more conservative orientations, in general, they put more value on the last three, on loyalty, on authority, and on sanctity. Okay, all of that was extremely abstract regarding this list of moral foundations. But if you play with this, if you take any controversy on any level, it could even be a controversy within your own family, or it could be a controversy in your apartment complex, or it could be something in your town or your, or the country or the world. And you may see that the two sides of the controversy will be putting more value on one or another of these 6 principles, or maybe 2 or 3 than others. So, for example, and this is a little bit countering what I'm saying about liberal versus conservative. We have a kind of an interesting phenomenon in America, at least. I saw on the news, there are groups of people who are going out on the streets and they are protesting the lockdown rules. They are saying, we want our freedom. This whole thing about, protecting us and so on, this is all bogus. Of course, then there are so many conspiracy theories that go along with this. So we could say what they are arguing for is the value of liberty. They are saying, my liberty is more important than protection from this virus. And others will say, no, we have to protect everyone as much as possible. Therefore, we have to submit to these rules of lockdown. They may be, in a sense, arguing for the moral foundation of care. And you could say that both of them are arguing over the proper place and the proper application and those who are arguing that let us follow the rules strictly of lockdown, they are accepting the authority. Whose authority? Well, that is an interesting subject, and that has been a very big source of controversy because everyone dealing with a huge area of ignorance. We want to invest authority in the knowledge of the scientists, but the scientists themselves are saying we don't know. We don't know how quickly this virus can go. We don't know whether it's going to come back. We don't know if immunity comes after one gets. We don't know how to make a vaccine. And so there's a lot of guesswork. And then the politicians are trying to act as if they are authorities because they are in position of authority. They, give the benefit of the doubt. They want to act responsibly. So for the most part, what we're seeing is they are opting for the value of care in this case. But again, others are saying, no, this is not fair for the poor people of the world, especially for those who are losing their jobs, for the people who are day laborers. There are millions of day laborers here in India who they are predicting that people are going to be starving. So then the value of fairness becomes a major concern. So like this, I think all of these categories can help us to orient our thinking when we are confronted, as we are again and again and again, by different controversies, and we are asked to take positions. Constantly, we are being asked to take sides. What do you think about this? What do you say? Now, I just mentioned briefly, I haven't spent the time. If any of you like to, you could do this, is to relate these 6 moral foundations to our various lists. You can find probably enough in Bhagavad Gita, but if not, then certainly in Bhagavatam, the lists of virtues that we find in Vaishnava literature. How do these 6 moral foundations relate to those virtues? Okay, and what else? Yeah, so the question remains, what about bhakti and politics? And I want to just throw this out for you to think about. What about considering bhakti as the power of weakness? Bhakti is the power of recognizing dependence. It is the power of attracting Krishna to our surrender. It is the power also for the very advanced devotee to become the master of Krishna. Krishna wants to respond to the desire of his devotee. And so bhakti becomes the process, the mentality, it's the vision, it's the way of life, which is rising above both pravritti marga and nivritti. And of course, it is therefore going to the source of all power, in which a person is no longer concerned about power. Why? Because the devotee is simply attracted to the all-attractive, supreme Lord of all powers. Krishna is Shaktiman. And within Shaktiman, we can say that there is perfect resolution of all all political conflicts, all apparent conflicts become resolved in Krishna. The ideal devotee we are all so familiar with from Bhagavatam, whose father wanted so much that he be engaged in politics, that he become a professional politician. Sri Prahlad Maharaj simply refused. He said, I'm not interested. And why I'm not interested? Because politics just means seeing everyone as friends and enemies, but I can't see that way. I cannot, I don't want to, there's no value in it. It's not the purpose of life. It's a waste of time, and so on. Now, does this mean, if we go back to our questions, if we say, okay, we all want to be like Prahlad Maharaj, so we're not going to do anything, we're not going to do anything, we're not going to have any engagement in politics. No, it's not that simple. And here I just want to suggest a very interesting concept from present day thinkers, philosophers of political philosophy. There's, of course, a huge amount of discussion about the nature of democracy and how to make democracy actually work. We know Srila Prabhupada is typically condemning democracy. It's demon crazy and so on. But there is a concept which is possibly helpful for us, and that is participatory democracy. Now, to explain this, one general understanding of democracy, which many people have, is that what I do to engage in democracy is I submit a vote. When the time comes to vote, I will vote. And when the voting is over, that's it. That's what I do. I vote, finished. Participatory democracy is the idea that one becomes involved. No, that's enough. For you, you take it. No, that's enough. Coffee. Ek number. Dhanyavad. Hare Krishna. We have Braj Gopal with us here. You can both come and look in the screen. They can all see you. This is Braj. Come this way. This is Braj Gopal is the Pujari, and Abhimanyu, it's been 6 weeks. Very good. Okay. So participatory democracy is, it's like, you know, when there's a town council meeting, you go to the meeting and you sit in and you listen, and maybe you have something useful to say. I know in Hungary, the New Vrajadam farm is right next to this small village, Samojvamos. And the village has been populated in recent years by several devotees. I don't know the numbers. Someone said that 1/3 of the village is now devotees, I think. In any case, And some of them are members of the town council. So this is what's called participatory government. Participatory government, participatory democracy. So this of political activity in which devotees could be engaged in a way which could be beneficial for devotees and could be beneficial for their communities. Something to think about. Okay, that's all that I had to present. Hare Krishna. And now, let's see if I can return the button here somewhere. Oh, sorry. Electricity in our fan. Okay. Where did that button go? Ah, there it is. Stop share.
Guru Maharaj,
Okay. Hare Krishna. Gaur prema-latikāra. Now, oh, there's all kinds of things here on the chat. We're not going to have time for this, but thank you all very much for your comments. There's Sanga sent a link. There's another link. Gaura-lila. If you look carefully, you'll see some politics in gaura-lila. I think that would be another subject. We can find something there. But of course, the broad principle for us is that Sankirtan is what brings everyone together. Some can mean complete and some can mean together. So kirtan together. And according to scholars, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Puri, when he was living the last 18 years of his life, practically every day he was going to the Jagannath temple and having kirtan. And everyone, all kinds of people were joining in the kirtan. All kinds of people. Some of them with very special, very strange philosophies. So there could have been Shaivites, there could have been Buddhists, there could have been Shaktas, there could have been, dare I say, Mayavadis, Advaitavadis, Brahmavadis, all kinds, and they were just all joining in Lord Chaitanya's kirtan. So I think this is what we especially want to remember. Let's see, neutral to two sides of political parties, considered an enemy, avaduta right. Well, that could have something to do with personality, not only with being neutral. Sometimes something about our personality somebody doesn't like, and then what can you do? You try to be a well-wisher of everyone. One point I would make is to be neutral is perhaps not exactly what we want. What we want is to be well-wishers of everyone, and that's a very positive attitude. And if you allow yourself to be a well-wisher, and that means also when somebody has strong opinions that you really don't like, you still want to be their well-wisher. That can be difficult, but this is what we want to aim for. And if you can communicate your genuine wishing of the best for everyone. If you really feel that, that will come through, and then how could you possibly be their enemy? Then they are maybe enemy of themselves. Okay, let's move to, param to everyone. He says, from Gandhi, the state of enlightened anarchy. He says, to me, political power is not an end, but one of the means of enabling people to better their condition in every department of life. Yes, of course, Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about Daivi Varnashrama. And I think this is also very helpful for us to make this distinction, where Daivi Varnashrama, it means we're accepting whatever is favorable, again, Anukula, bhakti-jananī, we accept what is favorable as a support for Krishna consciousness, not as an end in itself. Well, there's a lot more he says there, but let's go to Pandava, who says, Canto 9, Chapter 18, verse 2, in purport, Prabhupada writes, it is specifically mentioned here that if one enters political life, especially in the modern day, one loses the chance for human perfection. And the main text is, when one enters the post of king or head of the government, one cannot understand the meaning of self-realization. Knowing this, Yati, the eldest son of Nahusha, did not accept the power to rule, although it was offered by his father. Yeah, so that's a good reminder that we, and here I think the principle is that Vaishnavas first and foremost are engaged in sadhana and pravachan. We are practicing bhajan, we are practicing our practice of sadhana, and we are preaching. And if those are in proper place, and we may find ourselves being looked upon as one who gives leadership, then it may be appropriate that we wield some sort of power, but only if it's not obstructing the sadhana and the pravachana. Yeah. Okay, this question from Divyambara. What can we do to transcend politics that come up among devotees? Well, what I'm trying to suggest is, first of all, it may be helpful to be a little analytical about what are the different positions, what is behind the different positions that devotees take. What are the motivations? What are the concerns of those who are taking one position or another position? And then to rise above, if we feel that the best that we can do for everyone is to rise above those politics, then again, the first thing is that we ask ourselves, can I be well-wisher to everyone on both sides of the controversy? Usually, that's another point about politics, is that the tendency is to, an issue comes up and then someone voices an opinion and then another person doesn't like that opinion and voices something else. And immediately we have a polarity where there there appears a false dichotomy. It is either this or that. There is only black and white. There is no gray. So one of the services of Vaishnavas, as I see it, is to help devotees understand that it may not be that simple. Or put it another way, there may be a third option which no one is thinking about if it's a matter of a choice. Either we do this or we do that. Can we find a third option? And if none of this is possible, then to simply be everyone's well-wisher. And that means, in some cases, what that means is also to say, Prabhupada's solution when devotees were in conflict with each other is he would say, okay, so you and you go and start your own temple somewhere else. He would send devotees to another city. Go start another temple. What's the problem? Don't stay around here and fight with them. Start your own temple. Way he was engaging everyone, and simultaneously he was serving his purpose of expanding the mission. Okay, one last question from Achintya. How to not get affected by all the politics coming to us through media, society, and even friends and family, and still maintain our sadhana strong. Oh, this is from Amrita Duni in Munich. Yes, this is the big challenge nowadays, especially because we're all glued to the internet. We're all getting so much news, so much information, so much is pouring in. Well, sometimes what we have to do is just say, okay, that's enough. Turn off the computer, grab the bead bag, and chant Hare Krishna. And of course, it should be the other way around. Chant very nice rounds, Maha Mantra. And as Mahatma Prabhu says in one of his affirmations, when I chant Hare Krishna, I turn off my world and turn on Krishna's world. I switch off my world and switch on Krishna's world. So you can practice that affirmation as you are chanting. I turn off this world, the whole world, I turn it off. And I turn on Krishna's world. Oh, here we're getting a picture of Mahatma Prabhu's little japa affirmations book. Thank you. Okay, so I will say thank you all very much for joining us today. All 90 of you. I'm going to say goodbye for now. You're welcome to stay online and chat with each other or whatever you want to do. And I think we can meet again. Is this a good time for everyone? Seems to be, otherwise you wouldn't be here. Okay. So we can try for next Saturday, same time.
Okay, thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, again for your time to be with us. We are really happy and looking forward to see you next Saturday.
Gaur-prema.
jeszcze raz z Tobą w kolejną sobotę. Teraz wszyscy mogą się żegnać. Wszystkich słyszeć. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prasāda-sebā, Hare Prabhu. Zatворимо.